Hello, friends, and welcome to Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk is brought to you by the International Dance Entrepreneurs Association, also known as IDEA, and you can learn more at ideadance.org. Coffee Talk is for dance teachers and studio owners and those who are passionate about dance and dance education. Today's episode is very special to me, and in a little while, I will tell you why. But we have many of the dance community's most well known women entrepreneurs with us today. They include Trisha Gomez, Terry Mangiarati, Stacy Morgan, Andrea Trench, and Mandy Yip. It's going to be a great conversation. Hey, let us know where you're from in the comments, your name, your studio, what you're passionate about. And if you have any questions while we're moving along, feel free to put them in the comments. Quick announcements for IDEA members. There will be a training session on Wednesday, a leadership training with Michelle Soudier. And also on Sunday, there will be a membership meeting. All that information is on the IDEA member Facebook page. I am going to run a commercial for the Dance Life Teacher Conference, and we'll be back momentarily with our guests. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. I just want to bring in Terry when I see her on this camera. Here she is. Hello, ladies.
Good morning.
Hello.
Awesome to see you all. Good morning. Real quickly, would you introduce yourselves for anyone that may not know who you are, but I believe everybody will. Terry.
Sure. I'm Terry Mangiarati. I own a studio in Massachusetts, right outside of Boston. Mom of 2 teenage boys.
Awesome. Welcome, Terry. Andrea.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrea Trench, founder of Discover Dance. I live in the Chicagoland area, and I am also a mom of 2. They are 11 and 8.
Awesome. Happy to have you here, Andrea. Mandy.
Hi, everyone. I'm tuning in from Calgary, Canada. I am the owner of Acrobatic Arts, and I have 2 boys. They are 14 and 16 years old.
Welcome, Mandy. Stacy Morgan, tuning in from Australia.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Stacey Morgan. I'm the principal of Port Macquarie Performing Arts and Danae Cantwell School of Dance, my brand new studio, which I purchased a couple of months ago. So that's the first time publicly I've said both. It's very exciting. And yes, it is 3 a.m. here in Australia, and my family is asleep out there, but I'm very grateful to be here, Rhea. I'm very excited. I have 3 babies, Patrick, Henry, and Lucinda.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Stacy, and thanks for getting up so early or staying up so late. I'm not quite sure. Miss Trisha.
Hi, everybody. I'm Trisha Gomez, former studio owner, currently owner of RhythmWorks Integrative Dance and IntelliDance, and teaching Artist Exchange, a bunch of real estate properties, and I am a mother of 2 fur babies.
Awesome. So happy to have you with us. I told you guys prior to us going live why I wanted to do this show, but I want to share it with our viewers and then we'll begin our talk. So when I was making the decision that I wanted to do this show, Girl Power, it was because I had been doing a lot of thinking, watching so many dance entrepreneurs that I see out there in our field right now. And it took me back in time to the 70s. I'm going to say 71, 72, 73. My parents split up. And when they split up, all of a sudden, my mother wasn't free to make her decisions anymore. Meaning she was very entrepreneurial, had dreams, places she wanted to go. But once she did not have a husband any longer, she could not sign a mortgage. She could not get a credit card. And I look back at those times and I think to myself, wow, the struggle was so real. And what could she have done beyond all the cool things that she did if she had been treated the same way a man was when it came to business? Everything's changed now. And I look at the women, strong women that I work with, and I believe they need more confidence. I know we have the tools in 2022, but they need more confidence in believing in themselves. So that's where we're gonna start here. Andrea, where did your confidence and your belief that you could succeed come from?
Well, I can tell you right now, my confidence isn't really high because I cannot believe I have been invited to this call because these women are the ones that got me to where I am. I was running a studio, I was teaching, and I got to a point where I was done. I burnt out. That's another coffee talk for another day. And I knew that I needed to change something, but I didn't really know what that was until I had a panic attack that I've never had before. And my body was like, oh, well, we're just going to stop it right here. And you're going to do something different. So I took a moment to myself for some self-love and some self-care. And I reflected back on what I love to do, and that is to teach and to connect. So I did not feel confident, but I did it anyway. And along the way, I connected with amazing people, not just in industry leaders like on this screen right here, but the people in the comments. I see you, and they gave me the confidence to continue. They reached out to me, and I continued on this track of connecting and educating and serving. And that is what has led me to where I am today. Everything I do is for you in those comments, because I know my new mission is to change the way we teach early childhood dance education. So if I'm going to do that, I need to connect with early childhood educators all around the world. And when you connect with me, then that gives me the confidence to share and to educate and to serve. But yeah, I'm like right here now, I'm like, why am I, what can I bring to this party? Because first of all, Trisha is probably one of the main reasons why I am here.
Because you're awesome, that's why.
But you gave me the confidence to put myself out there and yeah, do what I love. Never been happier.
You're on mute, Ree.
Actually, Trisha is the one who brought you up to me for the very first time.
I know, but I did come up to you before. Do you remember that? I think we talked about this. I did. I sat right down there. I was staring at you. It was at one of those dance
UDMA shows.
Yeah. And I'm like, there's
Yeah.
Ray Gold. I'm going to go up there. And I sat down and I put some materials in front of you. And I said, I want to work for you. And then I heard nothing. I'm like, okay, cool. That's cool.
That is the way I am sometimes.
Cool.
But it's funny you say that, because that's how I met Trisha too, in a UDMA, and she came up to me and I saw her. It was the Hip Hop in a Box at the time.
Me too. Same story.
Really?
There's a
How'd you
pattern.
Yeah, there's a pattern here. Trisha, what about you and confidence?
You know, I think I have a completely different story because I was raised, I get it from my parents. My parents, from like when I was a baby, have like helped me do whatever like crazy idea that I came up with. You know, they gave me the resourcefulness to figure things out. So they didn't do it for me, but they were like, oh, you want to do this? Okay, well, what do we need to do? And they molded me. And of course I had a lot of failures and some successes, but you know, I started to, from an early age, realize that, you know, not everything's going to work out the way we want it to work out, but there's always a lesson to be learned. So I started looking at failure as just another learning opportunity. You know, it's not the end of the world. There's still time to do other things. So for me, I don't know if it's necessarily a confidence, because I definitely don't go into things thinking, oh, this is going to be great. You know, it's going to be so successful. It's almost a naivety of like, I'm completely naive of the fact that I might just completely fall flat on my face, and I just go for it. Right. And I might fall on my face, but I'll get back up, you know, it'll be fine. So I don't know if it's just like pure not really knowing, or if that's what confidence is. I don't know, but I've been that way since forever.
It's interesting that you say that, because my entrepreneurial head doesn't always see how I could fall either. And maybe it's by not seeing that actually stops people from moving forward, because that's all they can see. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What will happen if this doesn't work? What about you, Terry, on the same topic that might not be confidence, but might be in believing in yourself?
Ooh, I think the way we get the most confidence is from experience, right? Just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And those first few times you may really feel like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try it anyway. And you learn and keep trying and take those failures, like Trish said, learn from them, move forward. I don't know. I grew up kind of as I worked hard. Like even as a teenager, I was a hustler. My parents raised me that way. Like, you want it, you're gonna figure out how to pay for it yourself. I was a teenager in the 80s. I wanted my own phone. They made me pay for my own phone line to be installed into my bedroom. Like I paid for my own like cable, you know, I paid for my own car, like all of that from a very, very young age. So I hustled. I had a lot of jobs. So I think that is still kind of how I feel. Like nobody's going to come and pay my bills for me. I don't need anybody else to take care of me. I'm fiercely independent. I'm going to work as hard as I need to work to make sure that I get whatever I want or need on my own. My grandmother, even as a teenager, she'd whisper to me in the kitchen, like, you make sure you always have your own money. You make sure you never need a man to pay for you. Like that was like how I grew up. So I just worked. I was like, okay, I guess I'll get another job. I'll just keep working. There was never another option, I guess, which has obviously served me well.
I actually think it's a gift to have parents who make you buy your own things.
100%.
We're not doing favors by not making kids work for something. It's totally the opposite. I'm going to ask you this question. Did you feel like, because I had the same kind of a mother, did you feel like you wish at the time you had a mother who would buy those things for you?
Totally. I mean, even
Yeah.
as a young adult, even as I had friends who were getting given cars and let me buy your first house for you. Like really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but you know, you learn pretty quickly that it doesn't serve them well in the long run.
Right. Stacy, what's your take on this topic?
Well, Andrea stole my thunder a little bit because I was listening to you ask the question, Ree, and looking at these incredible women and thinking, these guys, seeing these guys do what they do so incredibly well, and to step out of their comfort zone and do incredible things in their own niches with their own people, building their own communities, is incredibly inspirational to me. But I think as a young child, my parents were incredibly supportive, and my ballet teacher was like God to me. And she was the person that said, you can do anything and you will do anything, and off you go, get back up, you're going to keep going and you're going to do anything. And she's still an incredibly inspiring figure in my life. Once I started my studio, she came and taught for me, and now she's the person that I go to. And if ever I am thinking I've got to take this big step, or this feels scary, or I'm not sure if this is going to happen, she's the person I call. And she will always tell me what she told me as a 7-year-old child. You can do this. Off you go. Like, get back up, dust yourself off, and off we go. So I think surrounding yourself by incredible people is so incredibly important. You can't put enough weight into the people that you surround yourself with.
Very cool. And also that you give credit to your teacher, because those that are watching out there, your success, your ability to be a leader inspires all the young women in your class. And don't ever let that thought leave, because I think it's vitally important. And sometimes we're too busy teaching to know that we are also that to our students. Mandy, comments on this?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, my teacher too is going to get a lot of credit here right now. She's almost 90 now. She was a hard ass. She was very, very hard on us, and there were things that probably wouldn't fly today, like they flew in the 80s. But what she taught me was that I could get through it all, and that that there was no mountain that was too big. So I really credit her for that. I don't necessarily credit all the ways she went about it, but what she gave me in the end was this ability to just believe that anything was possible, that I could overcome anything that was in my way. So I really have to give her credit, even though, like I said, it wouldn't necessarily fly the way that teaching is done today.
Understood. Sometimes I look back to going to New York City in the 70s and 80s and some of the studios and what some of the teachers said, and they smoked cigarettes and all of that. And we grew up just fine coming from that culture. But look at how far we've come.
Yeah. It is amazing to see that it's a different place now. It's a nurturing environment, and I love that now the teacher can both inspire the student to become anything they want, and also have that nurturing ability where it feels like a soft place to land. So I think it's beautiful what it's transformed into over the last 20, 30 years.
I'm with you on that 100%. I actually think it only gets better from here. I think this understanding of how important our leadership is in our studios, and that influence on our communities, the parents and the kids, is starting to be realized by everybody. Whereas you may have grown up with a teacher that was very quiet, didn't talk to the customers, hardly even, came out at the shows. They were very hidden people. And now it's the opposite. It's almost like we're on all the time. Okay. Tell me your work habits. Like, I know a lot of people find it hard to sit down and get it done. How do you force yourself to, why are you all smirking? I'm anxious to hear this because I don't know the answer, and I'm in the same place you guys are, but I want to hear, what are your work habits to get a project done? Who wants to jump in first?
I'll jump in on that one.
Okay.
I tell people that things are done before I've started them on a consistent basis. I do that for myself because it is like the ultimate accountability. You know, I'll say that I've already prepared a speech for an upcoming thing, or that I have something ready to go, and then I have no choice but to get it together within the time frame that I've said I'm going to launch this thing that's already been created. So, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it really works for me because I feel like this massive amount of, need to get it done because there's all these people counting on me. And now I have a big staff of about 60 people, and they are really counting on me to get that thing done that I said I already had.
I have an element of that too, Mandy. So you're not alone.
I was just going to ask, is that typical here in this group?
I just do public announcements. Like, I am launching this business, like Teaching Artist Exchange. I talked about for like a year before I actually started building the website. And you hold yourself accountable, right? Because otherwise it sits in this idea phase and you're like, well, there's nothing really pushing me. But as soon as I start like talking about it and people are like, oh, when is it coming out? Well, soon. It's soon.
Oh, yeah. Trisha, I say, right, it's June 1st is when we're launching. And then I better get to work because I've only got this many months to get it up.
Yes.
So wait, I want to follow up with you, Tricia. How many years or months of pondering and talking before you jumped?
So, like, for Teaching Artist, it sat in my head for 5 years. It sat into my head in 5 years because I knew I didn't have the capacity to do it. And then over COVID, when we got the PPP, it allowed me to hire somebody else. And she had the capacity to help me build it. And so at that point, that's when I started talking about it publicly, saying, I'm launching this business. But yeah, no, 5 years it sat there in the back of my head. But as soon as I started talking about it, that put me into action. As far as strategy, I know, for me, what keeps me straight in my work habits is I have Trello. Like, I am a Trello master of just keeping everything organized and what needs to happen on Trello so that I see it right in front of me and I can move things around and, just keep organized because I have way too many things in my head to keep just things in my head, and I have to be able to see it.
Okay, I'm going into my seminar mode for 10 seconds here. Tell everybody what Trello is, please.
Trello.
They don't know.
It's a fabulous, you can do an app on your phone or on your computer, but it's basically think of sticky notes, right? So, and you say you have a board, and each board is a project. So maybe I'm building a new website, and that's going to be the website board. And on each board, I have lists. So I may have my, my brand colors or my images I like to use, my to-do list, my in progress. This has to be done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, done. These are all my passwords for that project. This is, each list is a certain topic. And within each list, there's cards. So each card will have different information about each different thing. And it keeps everything organized for you. And the best part is when you're done, you can drag it to the done file and just drop it there. And you get to see your done list grow and grow and grow, which I think is awesome because then you can go back and look and you're like, look at all the stuff I did. Like when you feel like you're not getting anything done, you actually go look at your done list and you're like, good job, self.
Yeah, I actually think that's important because sometimes we work so much we don't realize what we are getting done. We only notice what we're not getting done. Do you guys feel that way sometimes?
Yes.
So what about work habits? Stacy, Terry, Andrea, anything to add to that?
I'll jump in because I'm jumping in on the back of what Tricia said, in that so many people consider their brain like a storage facility and they try and put a lot of information in there and then try to pull it out when it's necessary. Like if you make a dentist appointment for Thursday, you'll store that in your mind and you'll expect that on Thursday morning you'll wake up and take that piece of information out of the storage shed and go, it's Thursday, I need to be at the dentist. When so often the dentist calls and says, do you remember you had an appointment today? And you're somewhere completely different. So for me, that getting things done is all about the systems that that are around that don't include storing things in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain needs to be like a superhighway. There needs to be information coming in and coming out and moving at all times. So you need somewhere else to put that important information, like the dentist appointment on Thursday, so that you don't forget, and so that you don't have to rely on your brain and use that energy and burn those calories to try and remember when you need to be at the dentist. So I am a big calendar person. I'm a Google Calendar person. All my calendar is like a colorful rainbow. Everything has a different color, and everything goes into the calendar in terms of where I need to be and what I need to do. And then I have a really robust to-do list system where I have all of my lists of all the different things, and I carry that everywhere I go, so that if somebody says, don't forget you need to book the dentist appointment, I can write it down on that to-do list and then it gets done.
I'll share
Very
two
good.
things. One is I had to make space. So if it wasn't bringing me joy, I had to leave it. So for example, running a studio, I couldn't do all the things. I couldn't be a mom to my young kids. I couldn't run the studio. I couldn't teach a majority of the classes and choreograph and run our performance company. It was just way too much. So once I had space, things got a lot easier because I could breathe, and I had the ability to then, invest in my own professional development and invest and figure out how to build a website and figure out how to do all those things, because those things were the things that were bringing me joy. The second strategy is I batch. So because I had to fix my hair and do my makeup today, you betcha I'm going to get off of here and record a ton of video trainings and all my reels and all of that, so that I don't have to worry about it later in the week.
Very good point. Batching is what you call that. I'm going to remember that. Terry, you have anything to add, or
I mean, these women are like the masters at getting stuff done. But yeah, I mean, I live and die by my Google Calendar too. Like Stace said, my whole family's on there, so we make sure we don't, double book somebody or double book myself. The staff is on there. I have a staff track on there too, so they can see the Google Calendar as well. And I mean, that morning time is the best time. Afternoon, after 12 o'clock comes around, maybe 1 o'clock if you're lucky, it's got to be other things, but in that morning chunk is when I get my most thoughtful things done. So and my Monday morning email is what will happen right after I get off this call. I opened it up and started it before we got on, but it will go out to my whole staff with what needs to get done, like focuses for this week. I'll carry over last week's, and I will leave all of the crossed out things so we know what got done, and then just focuses for the week and assign who I need to assign to those things, and then get going. I'll keep pulling that email up all week long to just see what I'm forgetting or where I need to focus for the week. But I love my Monday morning emails and my Google Calendar. I can't do anything without my Google Calendar. I don't know how these paper calendar people survive.
Said with such judgment, Terry. These paper.
No, I mean, I just don't. I'm like, a paper calendar. You gotta get it on my phone.
Okay, I want to take you guys somewhere else, and I know one of you has fur babies, but this question is for everybody because it's the most common question or concern that I hear. Don't have enough time for my kids. I fear that if I move forward with this, I won't be a good parent, a good mother, good leader for my children. Tell me how you balance your career life with your kids and family life, but also how you do it without feeling guilty if you're not there for your kids' things. Who wants to jump on
Question,
this?
Ray.
I'm not a good one for this one.
Okay, never mind.
Well, because I could not balance it all, which is why I had to get things off of my calendar. And it hit during Parent Watch Week. I was teaching. Parents were watching me while my daughter was in the other room, and I couldn't watch her. And I was like, that is the saddest thing ever. She doesn't have her mom there, and I'm the one running the studio, so I couldn't balance it. My family comes first now, period. But I'm happier. I'm happier because Discover Dance and what I do makes me happier. So I'm more fun to be around. I'm a fun mom now. I'm not stressed out.
I think that's key, that your family and your kids have to come first. So if there is a volleyball tournament and a rehearsal, the volleyball tournament has to come first. If that's an important event for him. Now, I don't need to come to every single thing that he's doing. My parents certainly didn't watch every practice I went to. That wasn't the way it was in the 80s. I mean, they came for watching week, maybe twice a year, and then recital. And I think that I need to be there for some things. I don't need to be there for everything. But if it's an important thing and he needs me to be there, you can bet that whatever other thing there was at the business, whether it was when I owned the studio or now, it is coming second. Because what I learned from owning a studio was that those kids grow up and they leave, and they don't invite you to their wedding all the time. And they, like these kids that you've put your entire life into and you think they're like your children, they turn 18 and all of a sudden they're not your children anymore. But my children, my real children, my boys are my actual children. They will be there for my entire life. So there's just no contest.
Preach, Mandy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I love Mandy. I'm going to share this about you. Mandy has like two versions of Mandy. Mandy has work Mandy and then family Mandy. And they do not mingle. Like they're totally different people. So, Mandy has a very well walled off system so that she's 100% present with her family.
Yeah, it's true. I don't answer calls. My phone turns off when I'm with my family. Then nothing else comes into that space. And when I'm here with you, like my door is shut and they don't come into this space. So like it works out for me.
So anybody have anything more to add to that?
I think that's an incredible skill, Mandy, that's what I'm always working towards. I don't necessarily always do it well, but that being able to be 100% here wherever you are, whether that's 100% sitting on the floor playing Lego with the kids or 100% in the studio teaching the kids you've got in front of you, that's really that juggle, I think, is always a challenge. But when I first had Lucinda, I had this unrealistic expectation that everything would remain the same. And I would tell people that nothing's going to change. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to, be always here. And somebody said to me, when she was maybe 1 or 2 years old, every time you say yes to the studio, you're saying no to Lucinda. And that hit me. I still feel it, even just saying it, because I'd never thought about it that way. But that was what was happening. I was constantly saying yes to the studio and never choosing Luce. Not that she was going to a volleyball game when she was 2 years old, but now that she's a bit older and now that I have the boys as well, that just stays forefront of my mind. So if something's going on at the studio that I don't need to be at, I'm definitely not there because I would rather be at the beach with the kids.
And can I just say too, I think building the community that you are working in, like at your studio or wherever you work, especially if you're running the show and that is your mission, to be able to, like I am, I want to be there for my kids. I have at this point have a couple years left with them in my house, so they're going to be moving on to college. I want to be there for whatever I want to be there for. So you have to cultivate the community at your studio so that those things can happen, which means that it's a two-way street, right? So if we have people that work for us that also have children, or not children, just families, their own personal lives, they have parents and whatever, they have their own lives. We need to be a little mutually respectful of that, which I think is difficult. And I think that's sometimes why it doesn't work so well all the time. If we're demanding our personal time, yet we're not super respectful of the people that work for us also needing their personal time. So I think I've tried anyways, and I think I've done a good job of creating a community where we're all working here, but we all have lives. So when your kids have things, I am not going to let somebody that works in my office miss their parent-teacher conference or their kids' chorus concert. That can't happen. You're going to cancel your classes if we can't find coverage because you need to be home for that. So even if that means something's happening at the studio that maybe isn't ideal so that she can be there for her kids, if I'm going to ask to be there for my kids, we need to do that for everybody and figure that out, which is why they're also so willing to cover for me if I want to be with my kids. So I think it's about cultivating the community that's at your studio so that you can all do that. Men, women, children, not your children, families, whatever their own personal lives have for them.
I'm going to
Love that.
tell you, I love that too. I'm going to tell you something that I'm thinking. It took me back to when we opened this show. Please don't think this was a bad thing. But that's a major shift for you to say the family comes first. Because as the child of the studio owner in the 70s, my mother would say, you know that I can't be there because that's my advanced class, right? And that was an accepted thing at the time. My father might go, someone else might go, but I had a different mom, I guess, compared to the other ones, is how I looked at it. Because for her, making a living, paying the mortgage that she couldn't get was the most important thing. And if that meant missing something, that meant missing it. How cool is it that in 2022, the majority of you say family comes first, and you say it without any hesitation? Know that this is a guy focusing in on this talk. Just the fact that you can say that, my family comes first, means that you can do almost anything you want to do in this world, because you make decisions that are the right decisions to put you on the path you need to be on to be successful. And I wish, as I said before, that women of the 70s, like my mother, had the opportunities that you guys have. I want everybody watching this to know that you're looking at 5 very successful women, humble, and they all believe in themselves, and they're all taking advantage of all the opportunities that are open to them in 2022. And I hope that this inspires you to do the same. That's why we're doing this show. So tell me a little bit about how you would, probably, Tricia, this is something that you do a lot, but how would you guide somebody who's watching us and says, I have this idea, I really believe it'll work, I've had it in the back of my head for 5 years, like, wait, I'll continue the question, but your point about I had that in my mind for 5 years, I'd like all of our viewers to know that often great ideas are like that. They don't happen where you wake up one morning and a light bulb goes off and in 3 days you're doing that idea. Really good idea. Brews and stews for a long time. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a moment where I was like, I literally was in the bathtub and I was like, oh, I have an idea. And then it sat there for a long time, but the good ideas stay. Like, they keep coming back to the forefront of your mind and you're like, I really should do that. Or I wonder if I should do that. Or, it comes, but it takes a while.
Okay, I have this project I've been thinking about doing for a long time. Tell me how I should, what are my first action steps? How do I get myself motivated?
Step number 1, say you're going to do it. Tell somebody. Tell the people that you love that I'm doing this thing. And then step number 2, start Googling and talking to people in the industry that you want to work with, even if it has nothing to do with the dance industry. It may be, for me, like real estate. Start learning about it. Get into some classes if it's a completely new world for you. Start just data dumping, I think, is one of the very first things we do. Is we just start writing down ideas, 1-word sentences, look into this, do that. What about this? Find out about that. And then at some point you can kind of start to organize it to where it starts to make a little bit more sense. And networking, I think, is huge. And finding someone who has maybe done something similar or who has kind of been on that path before, just to pick their brain or to ask them questions. I think, going into things and saying, I'm going to figure this out by myself. I'm not going to ask questions. That doesn't work. Like, I play dumb all the time because pretty much I am dumb. I mean, I jump into things not knowing anything about it. And then like this morning, I'm like, I'm going to buy some NFTs. If you hear, like, I'm saying it right now. I don't understand that world at all.
I don't even know what
Mandy's
an
going to need you to
NFT
say you're going to
is.
do that by next week. Can you say that you're going to do that by next week? And then Mandy will get
But
that
you
done
better
for you.
believe, here's what's going to happen. You better believe I'm going to find me a mentor who's going to teach me about NFTs. And then you better believe that some kind of way I'm going to tie NFTs into what I do, and people are going to be able to buy NFTs from me. Might take me 5 years, but I'm saying it here.
Amy Porterfield's got a brand new podcast about it.
Oh, great. Okay. I'll listen to
Be a
it.
good mentor to have.
I'm in education mode right now. But, like, that's what you do. You say it, you start data dumping, you start researching, and then, 6 months later, a year later, you might have a product.
You just said you were in education mode. I feel like we should always be open to being in education mode.
100%.
That's a key. There is so much to learn, and things are evolving so fast. And no matter what your feelings are about the pandemic, it's caused things to evolve even faster. There are literally more opportunities to be an entrepreneur now than there ever has been. And this is the time to make those changes and get off our butts and move forward with all the things that we've been dreaming of doing.
Yeah. You talked earlier about confidence. And, I know Mandy and I would do, like, Mandy and I are doing a year-long leadership training course right now. But we're both like super involved in learning more. And I think the more you take continuing education classes, the more you read books, listen to podcasts, network, and talk to other people, both inside and outside of your industry, that helps you to build your confidence to do certain things, because you start to surround yourself by people who have done those things. And so it kind of starts, you become who you surround yourself with, right? So to me, that education is a big catalyst for the confidence to at least start to think, well, maybe I can do this some kind of way.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't necessarily, you can pick something that's maybe outside of your comfort zone. Maybe it's not exactly what you think you want to be educated on, but just start with something, because each little pebble sort of adds up, and then you end up in a place that maybe you didn't even realize you were headed in that direction. But it's never a bad thing to get more education in any subject.
Yeah, you never know what that is going to stem, like what's going to come from that. Like Stacy mentioned Amy Porterfield. I took her courses on how to create an online course, how to build your email list. I never even thought that I wanted to build an online course until I started diving into her resources. And I'm like, this is what I need to do. And then that gave me the confidence to go forward and create an online course. I didn't think that was even in my future.
Yeah, and not hold back on getting the information that you need to move forward. Tell everybody, did you say Amy Porter, Porter?
Field.
Porterfield.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
She has a podcast, lots of great information for free. You don't have to pay for information. You can start there to see if it sparks, and then it can evolve into other things.
Very cool. As we wind this down, can I go around the table and ask you for some final words of wisdom, especially for women and their opportunities to move forward to do what their heart tells them they should do? Andrea.
Yep. So I think if you were sitting there, and especially as the newbie to this group, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I do have this idea, but I don't know where to start, just start. Find a need. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be solving someone's problem. So find those people with the problems, get in the Facebook groups where people are asking questions, and connect with them. connect, share you are so knowledgeable. You know what you know, you love what you do. So start sharing, start connecting, start educating, and that will open the door. And when a door opens, don't be afraid to grunge through,
Yes.
pointed feet and strong arms, and enjoy every single step.
And I don't know who said this. I'm already stopping the flow of these final words, but yeah, I think you said it, Andrea. Sometimes we set a goal or we know where we want to go on this day, but that goal takes a turn and it turns out to be a better thing. But that better thing wouldn't have started had you not gone for the original goal.
Right. Yeah. And it's when those doors, it's going to feel good inside. If it doesn't feel good, then you know that you need to shift another direction. But if it's feeling good, follow it, lean into it.
Tricia, words of wisdom.
I'll tag off of that. With RhythmWorks, I had no idea where it was going to end. I just knew that there was something I needed to do. And I committed, I call it my year of yes. And I committed to, if it started with, hey, you should listen to Amy Potterfield's podcast, then I was going to do it. Or you should read this book, or you should take this class, or, do you want to meet, I should connect you with a friend of mine. Do you want to meet them? Absolutely. Yes. Do you want to come to this party with me? If I didn't want to go, I would still go because I knew that something would come out of that, whether it was going to be someone I met who could give me some information or who could help in some kind of way, or who I could help some kind of way that would teach me about something, or, maybe it was a piece of knowledge or would lead to something else. I knew that things were going to be presented in the right time in the right places. So for a year, if it started with, you should, have you thought about, why don't you, would you like to, hey, do you want to? I said yes. No matter how much I didn't want to, I said yes. And what ended up coming out of that year was far superior than anything that I could have possibly thought of on my own without saying all of those yeses. So my wisdom is to just go on the journey and say yes and be open-minded and follow the lead, follow the signs. They're all over the place.
I like a year of yes. Year of yes for everybody viewing today. Terry, final words of wisdom.
Well, what I would love to say is just by these people on the screen, who I admire so much, and for everybody at home, if you are not surrounded or have some real good go-to people that will help lift you up, you need to find those people. If you're surrounded by people that are naysayers, or, I kind of share my ideas, but they tend to knock them down, or they're not really going on this ride with me. When you have an idea and you bring it to somebody and you kind of work that journey together, what that feels like, you got to find those people, because I do think that is something that does set apart the fields of female entrepreneurs and business owners or teachers, as we are those people for each other in a way that I don't know that I see in male counterparts, to be honest. My husband works in the corporate world. I don't know that they're like cheering each other on to do better and be better, unless it's like somewhat self-serving. And I don't think that that's the case for us. So if you're in that kind of environment, get out of it and reach out to other people, whoever they are, females, males, whatever, that can help support you and lift you up. Because I do think, that is one of the things that I'm the most grateful for, is my community of friends that will, like, you can do this, you're amazing. And Tricia did it right at the beginning with Andrea, because you're amazing, Andrea. Like, and in that moment, I'm like, yeah, and this is why my girlfriends are the girlfriends that I have, because this is what we do for each other on the daily. So I think it's important that you reach out and find those people, if you don't have them now, because it's a game changer, your community.
Excellently said. Stacy.
I think for me, you talked before about balance, Ree. It's really hard to think about all the things that we do, all the hats that we wear, and to think about balance, because balance gives you the idea that everything's going to be equal, that everything's going to have equal time. And I think that's rubbish, because that's not realistic. But I think if we are able to blend the time that we have by organizing our calendar and by organizing our time the way that we want to organize it, not being led by the studio or the parents at the studio or your mother-in-law, or, being able to choose the way you're going to spend your time. I mean, that's one of the reasons we all get into running our own business, right? We want to be able to choose how we spend our time. But I think if you're not really conscious about what you're doing with that time, it can run away from you. So we all know that we have to, have time for ourselves and have time looking after ourselves and filling up our own cup and inspiring ourselves, being surrounded by incredible people, having a bubble bath every now and then, or taking ourselves for a massage. We know those filling up our cup things are important, but I think as women, sometimes that's the last thing on the list. And I think if you want to get yourself to a place where you can be at home with the kids and not feel guilty about not being at the studio, or you can, be at the studio teaching and loving it and not feeling guilty that you're not at home with the kids, that starts with you. And unless you put the time in, unless you actually consciously schedule that time in your paper calendar or your electronic calendar, then it won't happen. No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to walk up to you and say, you know what, it's 11 o'clock, you should go for a massage. No one's doing that. And I think as women, we need to do that for ourselves a little bit more. And we need to encourage each other to do that a little bit more. What have you done for yourself today? Or what are you doing for yourself this week that's going to give you the recharge that you need in order to serve all the people that you serve as part of the community you're building, as part of the family you're nurturing? I think it's really, really important. And we all know we should, but I think we don't necessarily do it as much as we should.
Yeah. Stacey, I want to just kind of equate that to like actual physical balance, right? So when you're balancing on one leg, you're engaged, you're pushing down, pulling up, all your muscles are working, right? In order to achieve balance. And if we can equate that to our life, our work-life balance, we have to put that same work into doing it, right? You have to push down and pull up and do all the things and engage all the muscles in order to achieve that balance. It's not something you just sit back and relax and everything's hunky-dory all the time. It's work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Just a thought.
100%.
Final words. Who did I leave out here? I started posting comments. I should have done that a long time ago, but you've made a lot of people happy today. And we have our psychologist here backing up Terry's comments about surrounding yourself with the people who bring you life, not those who bring you death. Okay, I guess that's an either or, but I'm cool with that. Mandy.
Sure. So my first piece of advice is that 1% is better than 0%. So if you can't clean up the whole room, clean up a little corner of it. If you can't do all the dishes, get one of the dishes done. If you can't, finish the whole schedule, do the first day, do one little piece of it. And those one little pieces will add up over time and you'll get more done than you ever thought possible. And sometimes when you start with a goal of 1%, it seems very manageable and you get that 1% done and you think, I probably could get 2% done today. And then that turns into 4% and that turns into 10%. And before you even know it, you've completed something that you didn't think was even possible or you were procrastinating on because it just seemed like it's too big of a task. So chop it up into little tiny chunks and get the 1% done. And then my other piece is don't forget to rest. Rest is really important. Stacey kind of already mentioned that, but take that time for yourself. I have a nap every single day. My friends all know that. It's called a yip now because so Trisha will say, I think I'm going to have a yip today. I think I'm going to do it. But I never miss nap. So I get to have 2 days every day. I have a morning that happens until about noon. Then I have lunch. Then I have a nap. And then I have a whole nother morning of getting things done. And I'm committed and diligent with that nap. Even though sometimes I don't even feel like it, I do it anyways because it actually gives me more energy to get more things done in the afternoon if I am committed to it. So I'd encourage you to do that too.
Mandy, you're my hero.
Yes. Listen,
Yes.
I love the nap concept. I used to be very much a napper almost every day. Something happened as I got older. I don't necessarily take as many naps, but I'm going to tell you, when I did, people would say, how do you do that? I was like you, Mandy. I was refreshed. It was the second morning. So don't feel guilty, those of you who are out there who may find that to be how you nourish your soul.
I'm going to need a yip today,
Right?
and I'm going to take one.
We hope all of you will take a yip. I think that's a good way to end this show. Let me say, I'm inspired by you guys, and I hope that our audience and our viewers today will take your words of wisdom, and that let it inspire you to take, as Mandy said, that first step, that first little step, and move on to where you need to be and what will make you the happiest. And those things may evolve and change. So go with the flow. Would you all agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you again, everyone, for being with us. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another coffee talk, and that's another international one. Let me see who's on. It is Jane Gresh, along with, I'll let you know that. Oh, June Lawrence and Jane Gresh, Canadian and Australian. Take care, guys. Thanks for being with us. See you at the next coffee talk.